Hi BC, it's Rob here with another video, and this video is a Fred response to Richard McCook, who came up with a fun idea of showing albums using the name of your channel. So my name is Rob Walker, Let the Music Play, so that's 24 letters. So to me it's just a good excuse to show 24 albums. Don't usually get the chance to do that. I've not made a video in a while, so yeah, let's get cracking. So R.O.B. for Rob, and the first album is this one, the Rose City Band. So if I'd have known about this album last year, this would have been in my top 5. I did a ranking video, my top 10 albums from last year. This one would have been in the top 5, but I didn't find out about it till about January. Ripley Johnson, the guy who's in Wooden Ships and Moon Duo, is the guy behind the Rose City Band, and this is very Americana feel, very sort of easygoing guitar music, and it's very, very good. Really recommend this, very good album. So yeah, Rose City Band. And O is Open Here by Field Music. So Field Music, two guys from Sunderland, very Beatlesque sound to them, bit of XTC in there. They've done about 7 or 8 albums, all worth checking out. So yeah, Open Here by Field Music. And B, this is The Questions and Belief. So The Questions were signed to Paul Weller's Respond label. I think this came out in '83. It's not easy to find. And The Questions, I saw them supporting the Jam in '82, and they didn't go down well. Jam fans were pretty aggressive against them, throwing stuff at them. And I think Paul Weller was pretty upset with sort of the way the Jam fans reacted to The Questions. So it's no wonder when the Jam split and the Style Council sort of started, a lot of Jam fans sort of fell away from the Style Council. But yeah, The Questions recorded about 4 singles, pretty good, but no chart success, and soon disbanded. But one of The Questions, Paul Barry, wrote the song Belief for Cher, so I must have made a few quid off that. But yeah, The Questions and Belief. Now Walker, W, Wide Awake by Parquet Courts. So Parquet Courts, New York, scratchy guitars. I've sort of moved away for a while from sort of guitar music. I'm not sure what's going on, but it's got to be done really well, and Parquet Courts do it really well. A friend of mine went to see them in London last year, and he's only just stopped going on about it. So yeah, Parquet Courts, one of my favourite guitar bands at the moment, and this album is called Wide Awake. A, Walker is Tom York and Anima, and similar to the Rose City Band, I didn't buy this album until earlier this year, but it came out last year, and it's one of my favourite albums from last year. Very, very strong album. So yeah, Tom York and Anima. L is I've chosen one of my favourite bands, Any Excuse to Show Elbow. This album's called Little Fictions. I think it's from 2017. Just beautiful. Elbow were due to play at Glastonbury this weekend. And Elbow were plodding along, having quite a successful career, and they played Glastonbury, and their success just sort of moved on to a different level, and they're a great band, and Guy Garvey's such a nice person. So this is one of my favourite Elbow albums. So yeah, Little Fictions by Elbow. And K was causing me a problem or two, but I do have Kaya by Bob Marley. So the thing with Bob Marley is he always seems to have been around. When I was sort of 14, 15, they were having a lot of chart success, Bob Marley. And he's still got so much, he's such a respected artist. with such a high quality volume of work. It's just tragic really that he lost his life so early. But yeah, Kea by Bob Marley. E is one of my favourite bands. Chose Everything Now by Arcade Fire. So I've seen Arcade Fire a couple of times, and both times they were, the first time I saw them I didn't know what to expect, and they were in the top 5 gigs I've ever been to. So when I went to see them a couple of years ago, I knew what to expect. I knew I was going to have a great time, and they didn't disappoint, and this is a good album. So yeah, Everything Now by Arcade Fire. So Walker ends with an R, and this is Bears Den, an album, Red Earth and Pouring Rain. And this is a funny album for me. It's very easygoing, very commercial sounding, very unsuccessful, but very good, and well worth checking out. Bears Den and Red Earth and the Pouring Rain. Now let the music play. So LET, and we're going to have Billy Bragg and Life's a Riot. So Billy Bragg, I started to get into him about 83, 84. That's when I sort of became political, left wing, power to the people and all that. So went on a few demonstrations, a few marches in London, Maggie, 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 out, out, out and all that. And Billy Bragg was someone who I sort of followed really closely. And his albums in the 80s, great love songs as well, great writer, great artist. So yeah, Life's a Riot, Billy Bragg. Let the Music Play with an E, and it's Public Service Broadcasting, and this album's called Every Valley. So this came out a couple of years ago, and Public Service Broadcasting used sampling. So the first couple of albums, the second album was The Race for Space, which sort of concentrates on America and Russia's race for space. And this album concentrates on South Wales communities being struck down by closing the mines and the effect it had on those communities. And it's a very good album, very moving, well worth checking out, and one of my favourite bands, Public Service Broadcasting and Every Valley. So Let ends in T, and this is Tasmania by Australian band called Pond. So this is I think this came out last year. Pond are used by King Gizzard and the Wizard Lizard. It's sort of a bit of a, oh no it's not, it's Tame Impala. So Tame Impala is Kevin Parker, and he uses the musicians from Pond, but Pond are a band on their own, very good band, and this came out last year. I was a little bit disappointed with it when it came out, but it's sort of grown on me. So yeah, Tasmania by Pond. So so another T here, and I've got the Arctic Monkeys and this terrible album, Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino. So it's still sealed up. I showed this about a year ago. Made a mistake, bought it. I've still got hold of it, and I don't like it. I do like the Arctic Monkeys. I'm hoping they're going to bring something out pretty soon, because this was a bit of a disappointment. It was for me anyway. So yeah, I can't even read what it says, but it's a T. And H, I've chose Casey Johansson, and this is called Hiding. I discovered Casey Johansson earlier last year, and I really got into this album. For someone like me who's not really into sort of singer-songwriters, but the first 4 tracks on this album, it's so strong. Bow and Arrow, Hold Steady, Do You Want Me, and In Too Deep. Really, really good album. Not seen anyone on the VC even speak about Casey Johansson, but yeah, this Hiding is a really good album. And she's on Instagram, and yeah, you can sort of follow what she's up to. I think she was contemplating doing a tour before the COVID kicked in, but yeah, this album's well worth checking out. If you like singer-songwriters, quite a lot of you out there do. Casey Johansson and Heidi. And E, again, I've chose Travis. And this album, Everything at Once. And this is... I mean, I'm not the Travis super fan, but I quite like that sort of understated sort of indie sound that Travis produced. I think he got a new album coming out later this year. One of those bands that doesn't really get much love on the VC, but yeah, I don't mind Travis. And this album's called Everything at Once. So we're on M for music, and what about Jane Weaver and Modern Cosmology? So I went to see Jane Weaver last year, and she was just so good. The cosmic goddess, whatever you want to call her. She's not a youth. She's in her mid-40s. I got to sign an album. I had a little chat with her after the gig, and this is the album that really got me into her. Synth, nice songs, really nice vibe about it. And if you're not aware of Jane Weaver, maybe check her out. So Modern Cosmology, Jane Weaver. You, Ian Brown, Unfinished Monkey Business. So this album came out sort of after the Stone Roses. So this was sort of highly anticipated. Is it a hit? Is it a great album? It's not a great album. Is it okay? It is okay. When it's good, it's good. It's very good. There's some very good tracks on here, but then it gets let down a little bit. It's pretty up and down, not that consistent. A bit of a disappointment, if I'm brutally honest. A couple of his later albums are better. But Ian Brown's vocal has always kind of live been a bit of a letdown. And this album, obviously produced in the studio, does sound pretty good, but the songs in places do let it down a little bit. But yeah, Unfinished Monkey Business by Ian Brown. So S in music, and one of my favourite American bands is The National, Sleep Well Beast. So I've seen The National a couple of times, saw them last year, promoting their new album, and when I went to see them last year, it was an open air gig in Manchester, and to be honest, I saw them in a smaller gig a few years ago, and they were 10 out of 10. This gig, they were probably 7 out of 10, because the new album, I don't think it sort of reflects really well for doing live. But the more you listen to that new album, it changed from sort of a 6, 7 out of 10. It's a 9 out of 10 now. I love that new album. But this is another great album by a very underrated band, The National and Sleep Well Beast. Music's got a U in it, and this album is music with an I, so M-U-S-I. It's incidental music by W.H. Lung. So incidental music. This album came out last year, and this was my favourite album from last year. A couple of guys from Manchester started to listen to this album in November, and after a couple of weeks it was my favourite album of the year. So while we're checking out Incidental Music by W.H. Lung, a little bit of sort of Joy Division feel about it. Just give it a listen, see what you think. And music ends in a C. Tame Impala and Currents. So I'm a fan of Tame Impala. I actually quite recently showed some new albums that I picked up, and I give the Tame Impala new album a bit of a hard time, but I played it even more, and I'm starting to like it a little bit more now. So yeah, take back a little bit of what I said. This is a really good album though. Tame Impala and Currents. And let the music play. So we're on P, and we're on Pieces of a Man by Gil Scott-Heron. And I suppose with the Black Lives Matter campaign that's been going on since George Floyd was murdered. The lyrics and the sort of what's behind this album has never been more poignant, really. I've seen countless sort of programs on the TV about Black Lives Matter, and you know, demonstrations all over the world. In the UK, even though the COVID social distancing is still in place, we had quite a lot of large turnouts for demonstrations in support of Black Lives Matter. Through Black Lives Matter, I've discovered really that I work with a lot of people who I think are racist, because you know, I will say stuff and I get a very sort of negative reaction from people who I didn't really think were racist. But the things they say when I just come out with a statement are very sort of troubling to me. And when you work in an environment where you feel that people are racist, it's quite difficult, because how many times you keep sort of banging the drum, you just make yourself unpopular with everybody. But I kind of always have been somebody who will stick my head above the parapet, you know, and they're not going to silence me. But it just proves to me that there are a lot of people out there who are racist, and a lot of people in high places are racist. So, and it's a campaign that it's embarrassing in a way that we've not moved on any further than we have over the last sort of 30-40 years. I don't really feel as though we've moved on. I think superficially we've moved on, but I think there's still, you know, any racism, any ism of any kind, you know, in 2020, to say it shouldn't exist. People say, you know, you're living in utopia, but, you know, I just want to live in a fair society, really. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. So yeah, Pieces of a Man, Gil Scott-Heron. So Play has got an L in it. So what about Love the Reason? So I talked about Respond Records, which was a record company set up by Paul Weller, which wasn't that successful and did cost him quite a lot of money. And I think he discovered that there was a lot of hard work in running a record company. But this is a compilation that's got The Questions and Tracy and Main T Posse and A Craze on it. This isn't easy to find, so I thought I'd show this. Love the Reason compilation, Respond Records. So 2 to go, PLA. So I've chose this album. This is one of my favourite albums from last year. So it's Jay Som and Nat Ko. So this is a really strong album. You know, last year I played it a lot, and you know, a report on this album is it gets better and better. So really strong album, very hooky guitars, quite commercial sounding, but it's not sort of. I don't think it's had that much commercial success, but I noticed at the end of the year this album was, you know, mentioned quite a lot in the sort of best albums of the year, and that's because it is one of the best albums from last year. So yeah, Jay Som and Nat Ko. So Rob Walker, Let the Music Play, ends in a Y. So I was struggling a bit, but I do have this album, and it's The Flaming Lips and Yoshi Battles the Pink Robots. So I find that I really like this album. I played it so much when I got it on CD, and I think you can say about every music, you've got to play music quite a lot to really, really get into it. And the Flaming Lips for me have suffered that I've not spent enough time listening to a lot of their music, because I feel as though they're a band who I should really listen to more of and be more into. But I do love this album. So yeah. Flaming Lips and Yoshi Battles the Pink Robots. So Rob Walker, Let the Music Play, 24 albums. Thanks Richard for doing this thread. Seen a lot of people doing it, and yeah, it's a bit of fun, and 24 albums in 20 minutes can't be too bad. So that's it from me. Thanks for watching this video, and bye for now.